The most inspiring photos I've seen so far all have something in common. It doesn't matter if it was a street photo, a landscape shot, or even from photojournalism. They all have a subject matter focus that ties it together to draw your attention. So let's find ourselves a subject fast. A subject just like this. That is the famous Mayon Volcano here in the Philippines. Probably one of the world's most beautiful volcanoes. Very well known for its perfect cone shape. For the next few days, I'm going to be exploring the Albay province here in the Philippines to find different locations to photograph my main subject. But there's just one tiny problem. This volcano is notorious for being shy and might not want the same quality time as I do. But I'm sure she's very worth it, so let's give her a chase and make her say, I love you too. For the duration of the day, I explored around different spots around town to find interesting compositions that can support the Mayon volcano. And although I did enjoy the stroll and what I have found so far, especially this area filled with greens, farm animals, and coconut trees as foreground interest, she was a little bit slow to warm up and shy for our first date, so I took my time and decided to wait and see if she'll open up a bit more for a romantic sunset. So the peak actually finally showed up and right in time for sunset. I'm not fully satisfied with the composition because I feel it's a bit unbalanced because this part of the landscape is unbalanced with the right hand side because there's nothing to offset. But I can see that there's a couple of boats that pass by, so if I time the shot correctly, there might be a bit of counterweight with the boat and then the landscape on the left hand side. So let's see if it works. I think the shots turned out pretty fine, especially after seeing something that I've wanted to photograph for quite some time, and the clouds made it feel more dramatic. And so I felt optimistic about the trip. I really hope this afternoon really sets the scene for the next few days of this trip. I'm still here for a few more days, so I'll see you tomorrow. The next day, I have a packed agenda to visit some iconic locations and start off my morning with a short hike to Linyon Hill, which offers open views of Legazpi City and is one of the more popular lookout points around. However, the volcano is really elusive. It's covered by thick clouds today, so what a challenging subject to photograph. So I met a couple of travelers a while ago and they told me that in the morning there's more chances of visibility for the volcano. So hopefully, maybe I'll catch the sunrise tomorrow. Since there's no volcano visibility, I killed time and have a leisure time in this wildlife park looking at different animals and dinosaurs. And if you're wondering why I'm set on spending so much time photographing a single subject, well, this was a challenge I gave to myself because when I started out photography, I had that mindset that I always wanted to take something new. So once I'm done with a picture and a subject, I'll move on to other things. I'll never reconsider photographing that subject. And I feel like this is something that really helped me back in my photography because you can take a photo of the same subject but have different weather conditions, different compositions. The possibilities and combinations are quite endless. There's benefit to really honing in on the compositions. So the lesson for today, don't be like beginner Keith. So I'm currently in this place called the Cagsawa ruins, which is a historical landmark around the area. So this bell tower is the only thing that was preserved with the church that was destroyed when the volcano erupted. So the tragic story in February 1814, when the destructive eruption happened, there were a lot of the people who were trapped inside the church. Very tragic story. The volcano continued to elude me, but don't worry, I'll go back to this location for sunrise, taking that tip I got earlier, and just decided to learn more about this beautiful volcano. So I'm in a museum quite close to the Cagsawa ruins where I'm learning all about volcanoes. Very interesting facts. And Mt Mayon is said to be the most active volcano in the Philippines, having erupted about 50 times in the last 400 years. This museum it also talks about how the people living in this area coped with living with an active volcano and how the volcano is actually enhancing their livelihood because of tourism, and they use the materials from the eruptions as materials to do some construction. The volcano also enhances the wildlife around the area. So really informative stuff. Having specific plans for a trip can be very exciting as you build up a lot of expectations, but it can also be very demotivating if those plans don't come to life, and that is exactly how I was already feeling that afternoon, despite being surrounded with the beauty of the Philippines. So it's a little bit worse than a while ago. Honestly, it's a bit frustrating, but just goes to show that sometimes you really have to come back over and over again for your subject and composition and wait for the right conditions. I'm cheating a tiny bit because I found that really prominent mountain from over there, and I thought it was going to be a nice frame because even though there's harsh lighting, the clouds are very dramatic. And then in the mid-ground, there's like a house covered in like coconut trees. So sorry for cheating with it. it's a no-brainer. So I just wanted to share that later in the afternoon I received a message and alert that the volcano was experiencing some increased activity and rockfall. And a couple of days later, a day after I've left the area, the volcano emitted some lava flows already and they started evacuating the people. And in hindsight, that was probably the reason why I was seeing some smoke coming out of the crater in the photos that I'll share in the later parts of this video. Who knew? And I'll consider myself lucky that I was safe throughout the trip. So I went to another hill for another viewing point of the volcano, and just as soon as I came here, there's the peak. And I'm finding it a bit challenging to find compositions around the area. That is one of the reasons that I wanted to do this challenge, is to have a deeper connection with my subject. No matter how inspiring your subject matter would be, if you don't have the proper compositions to come along with it, or the proper lighting and weather conditions, then your photo won't really work. For my sunset composition today, it's going to be like a balancing act, because I have the coconut trees on the right-hand side of the frame, and then the volcano on the left-hand side of the frame. Then the sun is setting on the left side, casting a side light on the volcano. And fingers crossed, it's going to give us some colors later and the peak will be visible at that time.
Despite the frustrations earlier in the afternoon, I'm pleased with the sunset shots captured, especially this second shot where the opening through the clouds framed the peak.
I'm back here in the Cagsawa ruins, and this is just the scene that I've seen so much when I was a kid. It baffles me how it took me so long before visiting this place. It's just truly amazing. It's breathtaking. And I'm just so glad I was able to share this experience with all of you. So what I'm doing right now is I have the bell tower on the right-hand side of the frame, and I'm trying to balance out the bell tower with some of the leaves on the left-hand side.
My take on this classic scene is to use a long exposure to smoothen out the clouds and smoke coming out of the crater. Of course, I also had to take a selfie with this classic view. I then head towards an exciting next destination.
So for all the lookout points of the volcano that I've seen, this is probably the most mind-blowing so far. I keep making that joke about how landscape photographers like things curvy, and this is really what I'm talking about. This landscape is just amazing. There's so many curves in the hills, and it's just all around the place. And then, of course, the highlight subject is the Mt Mayon. So I really think Philippines is highly underrated in terms of landscape photography. I know it's famous for islands, but I didn't really realize how mind-blowing our landscapes are as well. Yeah, I just hope this video changes other people's minds, because it's just breathtaking. Very, very productive, but I think I'll end the video here. And if you're interested to see how I change my camera settings, click on this video where I explain to you the 3 variables that come into your camera's exposure and how each of those variables will affect the way your photos look. So I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.